I want to welcome everyone to the Women in Information Symposium in celebration of Women's History Month. I'm Anthony Chow, the Director of the School of Information, and I'm thrilled to join you today for our fourth annual Women in Information Symposium as we honor and elevate the voices of incredible women leading in libraries, education, and information science. This event is a powerful opportunity to reflect on the resilience, brilliance, and impact of women who are balancing multiple roles, advancing their careers, supporting their communities, and lifting each other up along the way. We're grateful to our esteemed speakers and panelists for sharing their insights and experiences with us today. Let's be inspired, empowered, and reminded of the strength we gain through connection and shared purpose. Before I hand it over to my colleague and fellow rabble-rouser, Loida Garcia-Febo, good to see you, Loida, I want to acknowledge some of the wonderful and inspiring women in my own life. First, my mother, who had the courage to travel to this country in her early 20s in pursuit of a better life. A top scholar from Taiwan who then had two children, stepped out of academia and her career and focused the rest of her life raising a family. Mom, thanks for all that you've done and all the sacrifice you have made for myself and my family. Next is my beautiful bride, my high school sweetheart and junior prom date, who helped me raise three wonderful children, that's put up with me all these years, and completed her bachelor's and master's degrees online while raising a family, and now has a thriving career in counseling. And finally, my three daughters. My middle one graduated with a bachelor's in computer science. My youngest is graduating in May with a dual degree in information science and psychology. And my eldest, who is non-binary, who is finding herself in this world and is flourishing since we've moved to California. The SJSU iSchool continues to be honored to host this community and culture symposium, and I'm so grateful to all of you for attending today. So without further ado, Loida, to you. Thank you.
Good morning in California. Good afternoon here, and good evening for Romania. I see some people here from different countries and different states, so that's wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. And welcome again to the San Jose State University School of Information's Women's History Month Symposium. I'm Loida Garcia-Febo, the San Jose State University iSchool Health and Wellness Ambassador, and I'm honored to be here with you today as we celebrate the incredible contribution of women in our profession and beyond. We already started hearing very inspiring stories about powerful women. This event is an opportunity to recognize the resilience, leadership, and empowerment of women who balance multiple roles in their careers, education, and personal lives. For many years, the School of Information has been dedicated to celebrating women's achievements and creating spaces for dialogue on leadership, equity, and empowerment. Through events like this symposium, the iSchool continues its tradition of supporting professional growth, fostering mentorship, and providing valuable resources to help women thrive in their career and communities. And today, we will hear from inspiring leaders who will share their experiences, strategies, and insights on navigating professional and personal responsibilities while prioritizing well-being. I invite you to engage with our speakers, ask questions, and take away valuable lessons that will hopefully empower you in your own journey. I am personally very proud of the women in my family as the daughter of a school librarian, continuing this tradition, right? As many of you know, school librarians have a very special place in my heart. But also, you know, there are women in my family that are in the health field, and also counseling, social services. You know, we are surrounded by women that have multiple roles. But today, we are very glad to have stellar speakers for our first part of the program. And let me just share my screen. Oh, here we have them. Okay, so our speakers today for our opening keynote panel are Shauntee Burns-Simpson, Director, Youth and Family Services at the District of Columbia Public Library Foundation, Dr. Maria McCauley, Director at Cambridge Public Library, Julia Warga, University Librarian at John Carroll University, and Dr. Michele A.L. Villagran, Associate Professor, San Jose State School of Information. And I'm really happy because I have worked with all of them for a while now. With some of them, like Julia, it's almost 15 years or more, but no one's counting really. And so it's a great day. I just want to mention that we also have, as part of our event today, we're going to have right after our opening keynote panel, we're going to have a session on mental health, well-being, and empowerment by Taryn Rainer. She is student support specialist for the iSchool. And after that, we are having our second session, Empowerment Through Education and Career Advancement by Kim Doherty, Career Advisor to the School of Information. And so we have a packed program, very exciting, celebrating women. All right, let's get into that. Let me stop sharing it. As we are still, because we are in March 27th, as we are still celebrating Women's History Month, I would like to go around the stellar group of women in librarianship. And can each of you share a personal experience that shaped your journey towards empowerment? You know, how has your career in life being influenced by the women that came before you, and how do you hope to inspire the next generation? And I'll just go around, you know, the women I see on my screen. I'll start with Maria McCauley.
So I just want to be really open, and I feel like my personal life and my professional life, they often, you know, overlap. And I am learning in my life journey from both. And I would say that this was a really compelling question for me to think about. And my personal experience, the most formative thing that has happened in my life that has shaped my journey toward empowerment is going through a divorce. And this was the hardest thing that I have ever experienced. And going through it, I can say that I can do anything. And what was so difficult about it was my whole identity was disrupted. I had built my whole identity as a young woman on being married to my partner. And we had a joint friendship network. And it was all about that whole network and my partner. And so when my marriage ended, I felt like I was drowning. I would cry, like I would go to work and then I would just go home and cry. And I felt like I was drowning, like going down a drain. And I remember a friend told me that even though it was hard to hear, that this was a really good thing and that this divorce would help me to I would come out the other end stronger. And I just wanted to like throw things at her. I felt like she was just not understanding where it was. And after going through my divorce, I feel like she was right. Like I learned so much about myself. I learned to find my feet firmly placed on earth, and to stand on my own and to be much more independent than I ever was before, and to form my own identity as a strong, independent woman. And so I think that was the best and hardest experience for me. In terms of women who were so important to me, my mother was just this person who was always cheering me on. And she supported me, even through the divorce where both of my parents really loved my first husband. And I remember telling them that I wanted to have a baby and that I didn't know if I would find a partner and I'm going to try it on my own. They were so supportive. They both came with me to go to the cryobank to get my very first big tank of sperm. And I just thought, oh, that was like a moment where I'm like, these people are just the best people in the whole universe. And then professionally, I had an early mentor. Her name is Susan Flannery, and she was the director here at the Cambridge Public Library before me. And she and I met over 30 years ago when I applied for a part-time position. And she saw something in me and told me about the ALA Spectrum Scholarship Program. And I subsequently applied for that and went to grad school because of Susan. Thanks.
Maria, we're going to close the program now. Everybody go home. Thank you so much for that gift. That is very powerful and empowering and inspiring, because as I've known you for some time now, your dreams came true. I mean, it was definitely much better on the other side, right? But you spoke truth. When we are going through things, we just want to, don't talk to me about that. And this is, I really appreciate that. I value your words so much, because women don't talk about those things. We are kind of trained to not talk about personal lives. We're little machines that are studying, researching, working, leading things or institutions or people, and personal lives that doesn't exist, right? And then unfortunately, sometimes people develop health conditions, and the body really responds to the ways in which we go through life, maybe not acknowledging that we are humans. So I wanted to put that out there, and I'm taking time from Julia's answer, but it's important. And now I'm going to Julia.
Okay, sorry, it always takes me a minute to find that audio button to unclick it. So I would say that for me, the most empowering, life experience that I had, and this is one that's really actually complicated for me to talk about because I really don't talk about this, but when I was in my early 30s, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when you get not a sentence, but a diagnosis like that, you don't know how you're going to come out of it. And when that was over, I realized that I can do anything. Like, nothing is as scary as waking up and finding out that, you've got to go through surgery and chemo. And so finding out that I could do that, and I survived it. And so actually, I sometimes joke that getting a cancer diagnosis isn't as scary as public speaking, because that still freaks me out. And so, and through that, what I learned also is that, women empowerment is really important, but it also, watching my husband go through this with me really helped me learn how to not only take care of myself, but to take care of him, and how we can reflect on that. Regarding sort of just women in my life, I would say that, my parents were divorced when I was 5 or 6, and essentially she had full custody of my sister and I, and raising the two of us to go forth and do what we wanted to do. She encouraged us to go to college, and we both gone on to get master's degrees. And my mom she's been there through everything. And so, and now I'm in the sandwich generation. She broke her hip recently, and now it's my turn to support her. So that's, yeah.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. And health forever to you. I'm in the sandwich generation too. And I think sometimes people are blessed in a way because maybe they can travel to another state. I have to take a plane uh, several times per year, and I do it happily because, those were the people that really, helped me to be here, as you mentioned, Julia. Thank you so much. Shauntee, how are you?
Good. I'm trying not to cry because you guys have really been sharing everything, and I get emotional very easily. But it's true. Your journey, my journey towards empowerment has been really shaped by the women in my family. I started working in the library because of my godmother, Iris Holt. It was supposed to be a summer job, and I never left. So I always have to give kudos to her because it was actually a profession that I ended up falling into because I worked there shelving books, and I just kept working and was able to get a degree out of it. So I really am so thankful to Iris for that. I do have to say that I am really inspired by so many great people within the profession, like everybody that's on this screen, especially you, Loida. You know you're a kick-ass person, so I have to give you your props. Leadership in BCALA, like Wanda K. Brown, Michelle M. Hayes. I would be remiss if I don't give kudos to Dr. Cindy Landrum from IMLS, our current president, Cindy Hove at ALA. I mean, there's just been so many great people. Like, we could just go on and on naming all of the wonderful women. Dr. Carla Hayden, Tracy Hall, and it just pioneers that we always want to give homage to because we stand on their shoulders, like Effie Lee Morris and Clara Stanton Jones, and even Seisha Orange. Like, these are just people that I am just so, so thankful for. I will say that just throughout my career and having two kids, one 12 and one 4, I know I'm crazy, he'll be 5 soon, but I just feel like always coming back after having a child that just like you give birth to a human, you have to really rethink like, okay, I'm responsible for this person, and what am I doing? What am I going to do to like make this little person grow up and be like, yes, that's my mom. I always feel like that because I'm proud of my mom. My parents, Ray and Barbara Burns, but Barbara Burns was the stickler. She was the one that was like, go to school, get an education. And so I give them props because they both have high school diplomas, but both my brother and we both have college degrees, and we also have masters. So they did something right. So I am just always so appreciative to both of them. I'm a daddy's girl, but my mom made sure we were the ones that got out the door. So I'm just really thankful. It just that whole idea of baby brain. I don't know. I feel like it's true in my cases. So every time I would be like, I don't know. Can I come back? I don't remember. What am I supposed to do? And it's just like being able to just like make sure you have two shoes on your feet and go out there. So that's really what I share with everyone, whether they're new into the profession or just wanting, you get to this rut and you're like, is this like my thing? And I'm just like, just do it, just push it. Any window of opportunity, just go for it. Because that's what gets me going. That's what many mentors have done for me. Miriam Tullio, she has been since I was a baby librarian. She was like, you're gonna be my boss one day. I was like, yeah, okay, Miriam. But she's always spoke life to me. So I'm just so appreciative. And I just want to make sure that I do that for all of the people that's coming up along the way.
Oh, Shauntee, we are daddy's girls. Yes. that is rule. But the moms, those are the motors, really. Go, go, go. It's very interesting. I love that. We need to talk more about that. But I want to highlight something, and the students are here, and maybe other librarians. You don't have to be a student, but come back to this recording and check out the names that Shauntee shout out, because those are people that are, they are articles written about them. There are things out there published about their history, right? Her stories. And it's important for our profession, but also, the human side of them, amazing people and really stellars, as Shauntee mentioned. And then the other piece is that all these women I see here, and I have to say, including me, we are yes people. It's like, jump. Yes, I'll go with you. I'll go by myself. And how high? And we're going to do this, right? But of course, we have done our research. We have a team, and so those are really important pieces. But daring to do things, I think that's what is at. And before I continue, let me welcome Michele.
Thank you, Loida. Wow, so empowering just hearing from all three of you. And I was struggling with this question, actually, the first part, because when I thought of personal experience, I always immediately go to professional experiences. I don't know why, other than my life. I feel it's flipped. It's always been the professional side that's driven me, and the support from colleagues like Shauntee mentioned, so many, and my former colleagues, and there's so many, Loida, you as well, like there's so many. So I'm going to go back to the question about personal experience, but rather I want to start with kind of the career and professional individuals that really influenced me throughout my journey to where I am today. And one is Dr. Yvonne Chandler. Rest in peace. I don't want to cry. I might cry. But she was my mentor. She was an amazing faculty at the University of North Texas. I knew her like when I was I call myself a baby librarian back in the 90s. And then I went to library school. She was my professor. Then I ended up working with her. So we were colleagues, and then we were friends, and we knew everything about each other. And it was like we were two peas in a pod. And I'll always remember a couple of things she told me. And I went and dug in my email and found these emails as things she had said to me that really empowered me and inspired me to keep going. Because, when something happens, I'm the type of person, if something negative happens or someone tells you no, I go do it. I do the opposite. And it's like motivates me. It makes me not angry, but it really motivates me to then want to show, oh no, I can do it and I will do it. And she had said a few things to me. One, when I was looking for, I hadn't graduated from library school yet, but I was looking for a professional position. I was a law librarian, so I was looking to move into law firm environments. And I applied for a job. This was in Houston. I didn't get it. And it was like the first professional position, and I was very upset. And she had told me, when one door closes, two windows open. So don't give up and keep applying. And she would always send me like, so-and-so's, I heard, this position's coming out, or talk to so-and-so. And it was really like word on the street, not official positions that were posted yet. And I actually got my first professional position 6 months before I even graduated. I had already locked it in, secured it. I had to relocate to Houston from Vegas, where I worked in the public library. And it was a huge transition for me. And I think that ties maybe to the personal experience. So I am a daddy's girl. My mom has been very supportive and is very supportive, but I see both my parents as the pillar in my family. My mom won't tell me it to my face, but she'll tell it to everyone else, and they all tell me how proud she is of me. But when it comes to personal experiences, I do have to give the shout out to my mom. Because of her, I wouldn't be in librarianship at all. Similar to, I think it was Shauntee, or might have been Julia, who mentioned about starting young in the library. You're 16. So my mom would go to the grocery store in Vegas. And this is like a weekly routine. We go to the grocery store with me and my sister, or my sister and I, And next door was a storefront, public library branch. She would take us to the library. I knew Barbara. Barbara has since retired. And I ended up working with Barbara at the public library, small world, and I ended up working at that branch anyway. But I would go there every week. And I ended up starting working in the public library at the age of 15 and a half, thanks to my mom going to the grocery store and then having my sister and I go to the library. And then I worked 10 years in the public library system until I moved into law librarianship. So I guess that's my personal kind of empowerment in that sense of you never know where you might end up or be, and then you end up staying and growing within that profession. Yvonne, Dr. Chandler also said to me, she was very big on really supporting students, particularly BIPOC. And anything her and I did together and anything she did, it was all for support of BIPOC students. So I've really infused that into anything I do now in academia. Before, when I was in librarian world, like a law librarian, it was more about the clients and in the legal space. I was working with our attorneys. But she would always say, build your own voice and build it through the support that you're giving your students. And you want to make your students look good so they can then take that out into the profession and they can grow and develop based upon what they learn from you, but also you're helping them to really expand and grow their careers. So you will see then yourself through them as they move along. And I have through a lot of students graduate and I still keep in contact with them. And the other thing I would say about inspiring the next generation is not just giving through my support of my students, but also supporting those colleagues. So your colleagues here, supporting one another, if you're students, supporting your student peers. And when you get out in the profession, continue to support and give back by being a part of great organizations like Reforma, McCauley, ALA, all of the different organizations that are out there. But join in those and really give back to the communities. So that way you are inspiring others to join and be a part of such great entities. And I want to give a shout out to one more person, Dr. Ana Sanchez Munoz, who is a professor in Chicano Studies and Linguistics at Cal State Northridge. She's my best friend. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be in academia. I remember sitting on the beach here in LA, and she, is in academia and telling me, well, what do you want to do next? What are your plans? I'd just been laid off. And I was like, I don't know. And she said, have you ever thought of going for a tenure track position for your discipline, library school? Like San Jose has a program and there's UCLA and everything. And I was like, no, never say never. I told her no, never say never, never say no. Because then look what happened, which I'm blessed and grateful. But it was just this interesting pivot moment where I had never thought of that. And she was really speaking to me and empowering me to then transition my career. And I hadn't really thought of going full time into academia and then going through the ropes to follow a tenure track position. So I'm grateful to her and so many others. So thank you. And I'll pass it back to you, Loida.
All right. Through these conversations and also sensing a common theme, and Michele spoke about that, there is a type of kind of sisterhood or fellowship among women, and we are talking about, right, librarianship, our profession. And so how much better is to support each other than to not do that, right? That maybe put barriers. We don't want to do that. That's not good. That's not fun. It's not, healthy. And so, and that's the important piece, right? And then it's so beautiful when then others can speak, like what Michele mentioned, the best friend or the person that she spoke to for a period of time, and how they uplift each other. So that is really, really beautiful. I also want to, before I move to another question I have for our panel, I want to give a shout out to women that are mothers, but are mothering their friends, and they are mothering their pets, and they are mothering everybody in the library world or where they work, in the offices, because there are many women, and counting me, that we have not given birth, but we are mothering all the time, everybody. And then, we mother our families, our friends, and our pets, our plants. Although I cannot speak too much about my plants because, if you don't make a sound in this house, your chances are slim. But, I do know others that mother their plants beautifully. And so I just wanted to put that out there because women have so many different roles, and we are trying to excel at everything that we do. And so there are ones that are taking certain roles, and we are kind of distribute, or nature or the universe, right, have distributed ourselves. And it's very important where we are that we excel, and then we support this beautiful balance that we have in the planet. Even though there might be external forces or things that are out of our control, I think we are placed where we are to help keep this beautiful balance in the planet and life as we know it. So it's a big responsibility that we have. And I think today we are getting good inspiration to continue doing that. But let me go back to Shauntee, because I know that Shauntee recently, or maybe a year ago, have a switch in, she switched her professional life that also, I think, impacts personal. And so, but she's been in public libraries serving diverse communities. So, and I know that you also play a crucial role in providing resources for families, and you've been doing that, in different places. How can libraries support women who are, for instance, juggling multiple responsibilities? And what are some of these strategies that have worked for you in balancing your professional and personal life?
Thank you, Loida. This question is good because I think I bring this first fold into my work because I am a juggler. I can't physically juggle, but I am juggling for sure. I do believe that libraries are or can be lifelines for women, whether it's them managing work, being a caregiver. Before I had my kids, I was an auntie. Aunties to many kids, whether it was just my brother or my best friends, so I totally get it. And even just for women who are in school, I think libraries are great in providing flexible resources from our virtual programs, career support, course early literacy initiatives, and just thinking about just having a safe space for folks to connect. I mean, we know the cat calls and everything else that can happen. I mean, so the library just can fill a whole bunch of areas for women. Personally, I will say that balance for me comes for setting boundaries, and that is just something that is learned. I'm continuing to learn, and many folks continue to say, no is a full sentence. And so I'm utilizing that more and more, even though I can agree with you, Loida, it's still very easily for me to say yes. But just continue to lean on my network, my support network, and really just recognizing that perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. And so that's what I continue to just say daily, and I continue to bring into my work when I'm supporting the families in DC.
That's lovely, Shauntee. Sometimes people are petrified to do something because they're looking into how to be perfect and they don't do it. And so, we need to do it, and maybe others join us and inspire each other. Beautiful, beautiful. I'm going to, Julia, we have a university librarian here, and I'm so glad. I think you're your first directorship of this type, right? This level. So wonderful. It's been a couple of years, I think, and she already is building, I think either built a library or is building or renewing something. I mean, she jumped in, with everything.
Renovation.
So in that role, Julia, as a university librarian, John Carroll, the demands on faculty and staff can be overwhelming, especially when juggling, right? We're talking about juggling multiple roles. Can you share how you navigate the challenges of leadership and academics while balancing, being a mother and caregiving responsibilities? And what roles or resources have been most helpful in managing that balance?
Thanks, Loida. Yeah, no, I started my job a year and a half ago, and about 3 weeks after I started, they launched a renovation that had been in the works for many years. So I inherited. It is a huge project, let me just say. But it's been really rewarding. But it has also been very difficult to navigate that work-life balance. And so when you ask me this question, there's a lot here. So, but I would say that when I'm navigating work-life challenges as both a leader at work and a caregiver, one of the most important things for me to remember is to really take time for self-care, which can be as simple as reading a book or taking a walk. And sometimes I don't even have time to do that. Sometimes I just need to close my door and do Wordle or do Duolingo for a couple of minutes. Sometimes you just need to clear your mind somehow. And there are days when I don't leave the building. And then when I get home, I love to cook. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love the tactile experience, but I've lately found that deciding what to cook each night is insanely stressful, and it's taken away from that love of cooking. So now I spend my weekends, I diligently I do meal planning and I do my grocery shopping and I prep everything so that when I get home at the end of the day, my family is now actually eating healthier. We're not eating pizza 5 nights a week. And I'm also way more relaxed because I don't have to think about anything. It's just there and I just chop and cook. And the other thing I also try to do, and again, the operative word here is try, I try to keep my work at work. My staff know that they can always reach me and they know all the ways that they can reach me, but I really, really am trying to not bring my job home with me. And then I was sort of thinking about what tools and resources am I using to sort of make all of this happen? And I don't think any of the tools I've been using are particularly special, but Google Calendar is a lifesaver. I use it for sharing with my calendar at home and at work, so both colleagues and my family have access to it. I also always want to be available to everyone, but that means I can't always get my work done, and that gets stressful. So I have told myself, and this is really important because I love to help people, I have to close my door. Closing my door can be really help. I also I use Apple Notes. I have actually all of these little stickers all over my screen with to-do lists that I review at the beginning and at the end of the day, just as a placeholder for when I have an idea. And then my husband and I at home use these notes for creating shopping lists. So if he's out in the day, he can go pick up the food at Costco. I don't have to do it. Schedule send. I can't even begin to describe how amazing schedule send is. On the email feature, I can type my message and then I can do it, at 6 o'clock, but have it ready to go at 8 a.m. and I don't even have to think about it. Love it. And then I also, if I do find an extra 10 or 20 minutes a day, I will either try to take a walk around campus or I'll find a video on Apple Fitness or YouTube and do some stretching and yoga or some other kind of quick exercise video. Getting that movement is super helpful. And then also on my campus, there are always different types of activities. And so just getting out and being around other people who aren't in my department. So going to an exercise, going for like a walk around the neighborhood with colleagues, or they also have a lot of employee support groups on my campus. So like there's like a women's group that actually met yesterday at lunch, and I couldn't go because I had something else to do. But normally I do try to go to these. So those are just some of the simple ways that tools that I've incorporated in my life just to make all of this go a little bit easier.
That is awesome. I'm going to write a book with Julia. I decided that already now.
Okay, sounds good.
That's wonderful. But I have to agree with you, Julia. There are many technological aids, and AI is there for us to use it very wisely. And let me tell you, my groceries, this is me doing my groceries. Grab your phone. Let me show you how I do my groceries. Grab your cell phone, go to this app. Now, because now this is like a first world problem, right? So I have to decide when I'm going to be home to receive. So, that's the problem, when I'm going to be home. But, this is another example, as Julia was mentioning, oh my goodness, so many good tips. Thank you so much. Because we are busy, and how are we going to have it all, right? We need to definitely use what the science has helped us to have at our fingertips, right? And it's wonderful. Thank you so much, Julia. I'm going to stay in the academic world now. I'm going to go to Michele. And you already started to tell us a little bit about your life as an academic and educator. And in that world that we are also part of at times, you likely observed many students juggling multiple responsibilities as well. How can educational institutions, in your view, particularly libraries and schools of information, and of course the one in San Jose too, how can they better support women, especially students and faculty, in balancing their educational and caregiving roles?
Thank you, Loida. I kind of broke this in different areas. So I was thinking first about policies. So, and every institution is different, of course, but one, if there's a paid caregiving leave, I know a lot of times we think of that as for, you're going to have a baby, but there's, of course, other caregiving responsibilities we've talked about. But if your institution has that, and if not, if you can advocate for or expand the paid leave policies for your staff, for faculty. The other thing I was thinking about too around kind of policies is and I think COVID was a great example of this because it forced us to do this and be in a remote or hybrid kind of workspace. And I know a lot of companies and organizations have gone back to you have to be in person. But for caregiving purposes, keeping that option where all employees can have the option. Maybe there's a telecommute, work from home once or twice a week. Maybe if you're teaching, it's a hybrid situation. If you're not at, say, a school that's 100% online, but also flex scheduling. Libraries and also for library schools where if there are on-site, and I'll speak to the on-site here, where you can have whether it's like evenings or weekends. And I know libraries have done that for a long time, have some type of flex scheduling, but even more so, so you can accommodate those that are coming into the library. So you have coverage at all hours, but also for those that might need to work a later schedule because they have to take care of their child or whatever it might be. And then the other thing I was thinking of, and this is specific for tenure track, because a lot of times I'm speaking about academic libraries and also in iSchools, for tenure track, there's specific policies we have to follow. But if there were time extension policies or policies in which there was more flexibility, that the tenure clock either can be extended out another year or even more flexible just for caregiving responsibilities. So that's like more leniency, I want to say, but and also for students, like time to complete your degree. So degree extensions as a possibility as well. So that's kind of the policy side. But then I think other more simplistic things we could do now, because policies often take a long time to get implemented and executed, your spaces. So currently in your libraries or in your library schools, are there designated family spaces or spaces in which, whether it's physical, say furniture or toys, or if it's having a lactation room or having just a quiet room to go, having that space or that place. And if it's virtual, what I actually do in my classes, I have monthly, and I started this because of COVID, but now I'm continuing it. I call them wellness sessions. So once a month, I have a 1 hour wellness session. And it's now I think of it as wellness after going to the Reforma Kindness Affinity Group meeting, but it's a space virtually. Students can come in and come out, and it's just for us to be in community together and to share and talk about anything. And during COVID, it was actually pretty inspiring because children came and they were drawing pictures and showing each other on Zoom the pictures. Like we were in community together. There were pets. I mean, I get a lot of people coming to those. My students love them, but it's just to have another space that is a safe space, but a quiet space, and we can just be together and talk about whatever we want. A few others I'm thinking libraries could do specifically right now and have been, I believe, I know public libraries have been, but having kits that can be checked out, having activity kits that can be checked out, of course, tablets and laptops and other educational apps even that parents possibly could check out while, use them and to help them, support them, whether it's transportation, groceries, whatever it might be, like a holistic approach to really support the users in your libraries. And then last, I'll mention a couple others. And somebody mentioned this already on the panel about the like employee resource groups. I like to call them community learning spaces. I have a whole series of those for students at San Jose that are virtual, but these are, whether it's an affinity group, an employee resource group, it's really a peer support group for students or a peer support group, say for caretakers or caregivers, that you can really foster the solidarity together. You can be in community together. You can talk about your challenges and your opportunities and what's going on as far as, working with, say, it's for elder care. So my in-laws are 93 and 89, and they do have a caretaker that comes twice a week, but everything else falls on myself, my husband, and his siblings. And they often are always fighting about who's going to do what. So I step in and I'm like, I'm more flexible because I work from home. So I can rearrange my schedule to go drive the hour to go take care of whatever, and I can work over there and then come back. Whereas none of them can because of the way their job is structured, which goes back to the flexibility of having a more flexible schedule. And the last thing, and this is more for instructors, so anybody that's does instruction in a library or even a library school, thinking about in designing your courses about flexible deadlines, which I'm horrible at this. I do have a quote unquote no late policy, but actually it's flexible. It's very flexible as long as you let me know, communicate, let me know what's going on. Otherwise, here's the deadline, get it in. I can't assume if you don't get it in, I don't know what's going on. So building in flexibility and also thinking about the types of assignments you're offering. Like, do those assignments have built-in kind of flexibility? So this gets into inclusive course design and a lot of other things, but incorporating that into your instruction and your design of your classes and your teaching.
Thank you so much. I hope everybody's taking notes and then they can come back to, the details of what Michele mentioned. Really can apply for different type of libraries and settings. And so from academics, now we're going to back to public libraries, to Maria. Maria's being director of a number of libraries. So this is at least your second directorship, maybe. You let me know. Yes. Okay.
Third.
Wonderful. And so as a director of a major public library, right, Cambridge Public Library, Massachusetts, you oversee a large institution while managing various demands. What strategies have you developed to balance your professional responsibilities with personal commitments? And I understand you're very busy right now, as always. And, that may include parenting, caregiving, while also maintaining a sense of self-care and being Wonder Woman, director of a large public library.
Thank you, Loida. So breathing first. And I sometimes have to remind myself, breathe, just breathe. And my most important planning tool is my calendar. I think Julia mentioned Google. I use Outlook, but my calendar has everything in it. So when I say everything, I have reading with the kids. That's one of the things we do, rituals in the morning that we do together. Putting the kids to bed is another ritual. So everything is in there. So both personal and work. And I have a dream team. So my assistant, all of the communications folks. So I have somebody who really helps to prep me on like media calls. They are really amazing and also have access to my calendar. And I really try, and I know that Loida is such an ambassador for this, but working on self-care as well. I walk to work every morning. So that's a 40-minute walk. And I also see that kind of as a meditative experience where I can look at nature, see the sky, have natural light. And I try to meditate for at least 5 minutes a day. I do go to meditation workshops on occasion. And so over the past 2 years, I've probably been to 5 weekend meditation workshops. And I really think that meditation can be transformative in terms of building in expansiveness and perspective in one's life. And I think something else that really helps me, and Michele, you mentioned being a caretaker. I was a caretaker, my family, to my parents before they passed away. I would say the last 4 years before they passed. And we would go every weekend to Connecticut, 2-hour drive each way. And it was really hard and wonderful. But I knew that it was like a precious time. So knowing sometimes that something is finite, that it's worthwhile to lean into or to spend that investment of time, even if it's a little bit more. And then, after they passed, I had more free time after that. So that's kind of how and I just wanted to respond to something that Shauntee and Julia said. So for Shauntee, I always say that I'm in beta. And then Julia, I love my spouse to cook.
Maria, we have a club. That's okay, that's okay. We are excellent at many things. But we are so different. And I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to come together and listen. So many different experiences that I hope our participants and those that will really tune into the recording later can be inspired. And I'm sure they are. And we're going to close with a really cool exercise. We're just going to go around our speakers. And we want to close with a message for women that may be discouraged or overwhelmed, because we are all there at some point. It's evident through our talks, right? We are uplifted, but we also experience different type of emotions, right? Because life can be tough and, can have different sides. So women are discouraged, overwhelmed, and maybe, we're trying to balance work, education, family life, we need to have fun. We have to schedule everything, right? So what would you say to them? And I will just go around with Shauntee and Julia, Michelle, and I will close with Maria. So take it away, Shauntee.
Hey, thanks, Loida. I think that I would the three words that I would give to encourage people. I'm trying to think of the words that I use with the mantras with kids, where it's like, I am strong, I'm smart. And so I would say, just remember that you are always smart. You are resilient, and you are heard. I think that are three things that I would love to just share with my sister friends, because this is important, because I think sometimes you may feel like some of these are not true, but it's true, and it will always be true for all of us, because we are strong, we are smart, and it is important that we provide space that we will continue to be heard. So I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Beautiful. Julia.
This is hard. It's hard to come up with three words. So what I'm going to say, and I'm going to kind of say them really fast so it counts like three words, is that you are fantastic. It's okay to say no, and crying can be healthy.
Yes, normalize that. Hugs, and love. Wonderful. Michelle.
I'm going to say you are capable, you are strong, you are worthy, and remember that you are never walking this road alone.
Oh, yes, right. We have multitudes around us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, important. Maria.
Live in your power, speak up for yourself, go after what you want, try not to do harm, and lift people up.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much to all of you for giving us those words. And I will add that before crisis, right? Because when we are in crisis, we don't think about these words, right? Easily. Maybe we just grab a small index card and we write those words, right? I'm strong. I'm never alone. I'm heard, all the other things that the colleagues mentioned. And just write a few and just, tuck it in your wallet or maybe put it on your fridge. And so when that moment comes, and I hope that never, but, it may happen, we don't think, we can't, kind of think about different things. We just look, oh, it's there. And so that might be helpful. That's a strategy I recommend. Well, thank you so much. And I hope to see you all in person and, soon, or at least not, maybe by June. So, yes, thank you so much. And Library Light, and all the best to all of you. And thank you for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you, Loida. Thank everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Loida.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. And so now we're moving because, we have another 2 sessions coming up. And I'm going to ask our colleagues that are helping us with the Zoom, right, in the background. How are we doing if we have our next speaker with us? Yes.
Good morning or good afternoon. Hi.
Fantastic. Well, now we are... thank you so much to our colleagues that stay with us, students, everybody. I can see there's a very nice group still with us. Now we are going to the session on mental health, well-being, and empowerment. So important. And we hope to hear about themes related to recognizing and addressing mental health needs, resources for mental health and well-being support, and navigating social services. There are different themes within those areas. And we have Taryn Rainier from Student Support Specialist at the San Jose State University iSchool with us. And that is great because starting with our own school, there are resources there for the students. And I hope that if we have students or librarians from other areas, you can also get ideas by listening to the information and what Taryn is going to share with us today, because I think it's not only helping to students, but inspiring others perhaps to look into ways in which they can support their own colleagues and students wherever they are. Welcome, Taryn.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I did a PowerPoint, I think auditory and visual, depending on what your learning style is. So I'm Taryn, and thanks for joining me today. At the iSchool, I'm the student support specialist, and I specialize actually in school counseling. My master's degree is in counseling, and I've been a K-12 school counselor for 20 years. And I've been a college counselor at San Jose since 2021. So I wanted to concentrate on why mental health is important just to women. And so why is women's mental health so important? Well, it's due to our hormones first. And try remembering when you were like in middle school and going through puberty and how your moods changed many times in a day. I always refer to our middle schoolers as like hormonal aliens because the hormones are in control of their mental health. So to get started, recognizing and addressing some mental health needs. So our mental health includes like emotional, psychological, and social well-being. There are some mental health challenges that are more common to us, such as depression, anxiety, and eating disorders. And we already know that hormones affect not just our mental health, but our physical health as well. So the same hormones that control your menstrual cycle also influence serotonin, which is the brain chemical that promotes feelings of well-being and happiness. And when hormone levels drop, serotonin levels also fall. And this contributes to increased irritability, anxiety, and sadness. And falling estrogen and progesterone levels can trigger mood swings that make you less able to cope with things you'd normally let roll just all right off your back. And when women go through like sudden hormonal changes, like those that come with perimenopause, puberty, or postpartum, or even just our monthly cycle, we're at a higher risk for depression. So there's some resources at the bottom of the slide that I'm hoping you can either grab a screenshot of the web addresses. So what are like some symptoms in women? Persistent sadness or feelings of hopelessness, noticeable changes in mood, energy, and appetite, difficult sleeping or sleeping too much, appetite or weight changes, misuse of alcohol, drugs, or both, decreased energy or fatigue, excessive fear or worry, and seeing or hearing things that are not there, along with extremely high and low moods, aches, headaches, or digestive problems without a clear cause, anger or irritability, social withdrawal, thoughts or behaviors that interfere with work, family, or social life, and then thoughts of death or suicide attempts. So what can we do? So there's some resources for mental health and well-being. One is the 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. This lifeline provides free and confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis or emotional distress. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're across the United States. You can call or text 988. Support is also available live chat, so you can also get on their website. And they also have Spanish available as well. Then there's the National Maternal Mental Health Hotline. And this hotline offers free, confidential mental health support for moms and their families, so during or after pregnancy. And you can call or text them as well. And they have counselors that are 24 hours a day, that are there 7 days a week. And there's English and Spanish speaking counselors. There's also the disaster distress helpline. This one provides immediate crisis counseling for people experiencing like emotional distress related to any natural or human caused disaster. It's free, it's multilingual, confidential, and again, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then you can call or text that number as well. Just because we had a lot of our students in the LA area. So with the fires and that recent disaster, along with there's a couple other fires in a couple other states as well. So I think that's a really good one. Counselors, we all have like the same degree, but we also specialize in different aspects. So disaster counselors, they specialize a little more in crisis. And so there is a difference. And then lastly, we do have some great veterans at our school. And there's a crisis line that's free and confidential resource. And they can call or they can text or they can chat online too, to connect again with 24/7 support. So then more specifically, what resources do we have at San Jose? So there's the U. I put the web addresses there. So there's U at SJSU, which finds tips and tools for everything from your mental and physical health to friendships and finding balance. There's Mindful Steps, which is a system to help you grow and sustain your mental health. And you can choose from a range of mental health resources and services that best meets your needs and goals. And then there's also Wellbeing at SJSU, which is a hub of resources and experiences to inspire and empower you to grow your well-being. So you can join. They have monthly spotlights on different wellness, and you can go onto those websites and see which ones. They have like financial ones as well. So there's quite a wide range of tools to help. And there's also counseling available for free if you're a regular session student, and for a small fee if you're a special session student that lives in California. So counseling is offered through the SJSU CAPS office. And then the other one was navigating social services, which can be daunting, overwhelming, and very stressful. So depending on which services you need, I suggest starting at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The website address is a good place to start because it has every service available on the same page. So you can click on whatever service you're needing and then connect through what's available to help. It's overwhelming and it's stressful. There's no like cheat sheet for social services. It's just finding the right service that you need and who to talk to. So I'm sure there's questions. And I logged in at like the very last question. So for the presenters, and I always like to suggest that make sure you get enough food, water, and sleep. Because without those basic human needs being met, it's really hard to regulate emotions. And it's hard to just let things roll off your back. And it's hard to just deal with anything that's coming, the waves of life, the ups and downs. And that's because when there's not enough food or water or sleep, your brain goes into that survival mode. And so you're kind of stuck in that survival mode and that flight, fight, or freeze state. It's also been called the lizard brain. I'm from Hawaii, so I like to call it the gecko brain. And so we kind of get stuck there if our basic needs aren't being met. And so I always like to suggest as best as we can to make sure our basic needs are being met. So if there's any questions, Loida, I'm not sure, are we doing questions like in chat or just Q&A or?
Yes, I mean, we'll take questions on the chat, on Q&A, wherever they are. So this is a good time. Taryn is constantly, I mean, this is her job to work with students and provide different type of information to students. So this is a great time if you tried before to have an appointment with Taryn. This is your time. And feel free if you're also one of our speakers and are with us to also type your question, because all questions are valid. I do have a question for Taryn while we maybe receive questions from our participants. And I know that Taryn works with neurodivergent students. And, I myself have been to a number of programs at different library conferences and professional symposium on the topic. And it's so important because, when I was growing up, even when I was in college or when I started in librarianship, working as a librarian, I didn't hear about that. But science and the human race and everything, right, the universe have moved to a level where we are talking about these things that are so important for people to be able to function and to collaborate at work and also with their families. And so I would like to ask Taryn if she has tips or highlights on how to support neurodivergent. And of course, we're inspiring women today, so you can go in any direction. But I think that will be very helpful.
All right. So neurodiversity, it's a pretty new term, and it just kind of encapsulates anyone with different processing, and that could include dyslexia. And dyslexia is like the umbrella for processing disorders, which could be a visual or an auditory processing disorder. It can be a traumatic brain injury, that there's some learning needs that are needed. So I don't know, sorry, so nervous I talk faster. So neurodiverse kind of encapsulates anyone that's having any learning challenges, which we all seem to have at some point in our life, depending on what we're going through in life. I think probably the most thing we can all relate to is trauma. If you're dealing with any kind of trauma, death, or any kind of else trauma that we've all have experienced in life, and having that trauma, it affects your energy, it affects your short-term memory. And that's kind of how that short-term memory, it kind of looks like an ADD, but it's not. It's your short-term memory is having a hard time keeping up with everything, and it's having a hard time remembering things. So it's kind of like having the to-do list in your brain, and not being able to get through that to-do list because you've constantly forgotten something. Or I think a common one we all go through is you get up to go do something and you completely forget where you're going or what you're doing. And that's just your short-term memory is focusing on something else, and it's forgetting of what to do at the task at hand. And so we all have these challenges, whether they're temporary. COVID has led to a lot of neurodiversity challenges, or if it's genetic. Dyslexia is a genetic processing disorder as well. So there's lots of things that happen in our brain. I always wish we could see our brain. I think we take probably better care of it if we could see it. But they're just learning challenges. And depending on that, which learning challenge, we have to adapt and figure out what works best and what doesn't. And sometimes then in life, what worked when we were in high school or in our 20s does not work anymore when we're in our 40s. So it's constantly changing the tools that we need to help us.
Thank you so much. And you have also developed some resources available for students. Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? Maybe other colleagues can have some inspiration based on that.
Sure. So are you referring to,
To
sorry,
neurodiverse students?
oh, for resources like for San Jose?
Yes.
Okay. So for San Jose, we have the Accessibility Education Center. And if you have a learning challenge that has like a diagnosis of dyslexia or ADHD, or anything else, you can register with the AEC office and upload your diagnoses paperwork, and then learning accommodations can be provided that's appropriate to the diagnoses. And it depends, especially since we're all in an online format. So I typically see more accommodations as extended time. And sometimes that's something that a student needs, and sometimes that's not what a student needs. But it's just about trying to make tools available. And that's harder to do that in an online school as well.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that's helpful for the students and, the attendees to the program today. Elena has a question. Are the individual and group sessions offered by CAPS remote?
I am not sure what CAPS, because they're coming out of COVID as well. So I don't know what they have online for groups and individuals. I know that I believe you can still schedule things online, but I'm not sure which groups are meeting online anymore. But I believe there's a couple counselors that are doing just individual online.
Right. That's very, very local to San Jose State University. But we also have here, a beautiful message from, I think, a student, someone at the university that experienced a loss, and Taryn was there for her. So, this is what it's all about, right? To support the students. So it's really beautiful to read that, even though it's right, it's a sad, it was a sad situation. Do you have any other recommendations related to how to work with students that are maybe experiencing some tough circumstances?
Yeah, that's a hard one, because each of us is very individual and our circumstances are very individual. I always think if you just some sympathy and empathy, we all are in life together and ups and downs, and we've all experienced trauma at some level, so we can all relate to each other, regardless of what we're doing in our life, if we're a full-time college student or a part-time or just one class or working full-time, or just becoming a mother or getting married. So, at the graduate level, the students are so diverse in their age as well. So they're experiencing a lot of different things. So we have students that are getting married and students that need to be caretakers now. All those things are very individual. And so I think it's just on an individual basis.
We have, thank you for that. We have another question in the chat. Any mental health tips on dealing with microaggressions from classmates?
Let's see here. So I always go with behavior is about, behavior is about, sorry about the bell for 5 more minutes to go. The behavior is always about what that person is dealing with, and not what you're experiencing. So I always try to go with behavior that's not personal. Try not to take it personally, because it's not about you. It's about what that person is experiencing in their own life. And so trying to let that roll off is really hard, way easier said than done, but trying to remember that it's not personal. It's kind of like road rage, right? Like if you're someone cutting you off, they don't know who you are. It's not personal, but who knows what's going on in their life, whether they have to go to the bathroom real bad or they have to go to the hospital or who knows what's going on in their life. So it's not a personal reaction. And it's also depending on what that person is going through, who's having microaggressions or just any kind of behavior, and what you're going through as the person receiving it. So like if you are having to go to the bathroom real fast, right? And someone says something and you're not fully concentrating on what they're saying because you have to go to the bathroom. Or if you haven't eaten that day or not got enough sleep. So you take things differently, depending on your own needs and where you are. And then that person is going through their own stuff. So just trying not to take it personally. That's always the best advice, and way easier said than done.
Yes, definitely. And this is another whole topic for a class. There is so much to say about that, because there are also different types of microaggressions, and so it can be so complex. But I think what you mentioned, it's very important to kind of like right the tip of the iceberg, right? To a place to start with. We have a comment here from Lisa. Hello. And she has suggested something about, okay. Oh, I guess she shared a link about a resource that can be maybe helpful in terms of interacting with others, right? These microaggressions are part of that. Thank you so much, Lisa, for your contribution. And there is another question here. Well, this is a big question, right? Suggestions on how to navigate what's going on with IMLS and Department of Education. Everybody's concerned. There are, I will say something, but I will ask Taryn if she has any recommendations. What I will say is that there are some strategies in terms of how we can deal with our emotions and stay as centered as possible. Mindful strategies, deep breathing, visualization techniques, grounding techniques. There are even, you could do muscle relaxing, there are different techniques for us to try to stay centered. And so that's what I will offer at this time. But the topic is really, it has many legs, as I say, because it really touches everything that we are doing in librarianship. But Taryn, over to you for your, recommendations, words of wisdom.
So I would suggest paying attention to your body and where you're feeling that stress. That's usually where you can pick up tools to relieve the stress. So if you're feeling the stress in your shoulders, then, or the anger in your shoulders as well, then you can pick up some tools to release the shoulders. Same thing with if you're feeling it in your hands. There's little things to do depending on where you're feeling it in your body, because that's where your body is feeling it the most and it needs to release. So if you're angry and you're feeling it in your hands, you can, punch a pillow or do the lemon squeeze, which is just balling up your fists and pretend like you're squeezing a lemon, and then dropping it like real fast. And so if you're doing it shoulders, you can do what's called like the turtling, and you just bring up your shoulders to your ears and hold it for like 3 seconds and then drop your shoulders real fast. So it's releasing where you're feeling the tension in your body. It's releasing it at that, where you're feeling it. If your feet, you can pretend like you're in a mud puddle and like you're digging your feet down to the bottom and squishing through that mud. It all requires some breathing as well. And I always suggest the box breathing. If it works for the SEALs, it's got to work for us too. It does work. It's one of the things I use, and I just visualize that box and breathe in, breathe out, and hold, and it helps with me too. But there's some times where I just need to squeeze some lemons, and because I'm feeling it in my hands. So just pay attention to where you're feeling it in your body, and then that's the strategies that would help the most.
I mean, there are so many good practices to share. So thank you so much, Taryn, because those are good pointers, to start with. And with our limited time this morning, we're trying to do magic, right? Thank you so much. I also shared a link to the school health and wellness blog, and you'll find maybe some links to the health and wellness blog in there, and also to some videos and some resources. So you can check that out too. I curate that, and then Taryn share the different pages that she produces content for, kind of curate that, those pieces too. I see that Michele Villagran, who's also a professor at the school, can share some resources with the students. So, this is a great environment. We have resources and the willingness, right, to help the students, so that to support them. That's great. Thank you so much, Taryn. And now, because we are doing everything today, we are moving to the next session. And that session is empowerment through education and career advancement. And that will include themes like leveraging education for career growth, building a support network, and time management, among others. And that is presented by Kim Doherty. She is career advisor to the School of Information, San Jose State University. Welcome, Kim.
Thank you, Loida, and thank you for having me. And wow, what an incredible set of insights and strategies and encouragement we've had this morning. It's just amazing. And as far as I'm concerned, it's a perfect opportunity for me to build on the shoulders of those who have come before me, which is what we all do, essentially, one way or another in our careers. So what I would like to do is to cover the topics that Loida just lined up for us within the perspective of you are going through graduate school, and you have heard from people who have accomplished amazing things in their lives. And I know a couple of them very well, and can tell you those accomplishments are hard won. They haven't been easy. They have engendered a tremendous amount of personal investment and self-sacrifice and as we say, time management and all of those sorts of things. So what I would like to encourage you to do is think about all of those comments that we have heard today within the context of the fact that you are in graduate school and you have a perfect time to practice all of the tactics and strategies that you have heard today. So what I'm going to do is sort of line out for you, here are the concepts that I think will help you as you go through grad school in terms of building a career sort of launch pad for when you are ready to graduate, but also will help you navigate grad school. I think that Taryn, who has my utmost respect as someone to work with in the program, I think Taryn's done a great job of sort of lining out, here's how, or here are ways and approaches for handling the emotional aspects of all the juggling that you are doing. What I'd like to do is give you some strategic and tactical ideas. They are going to be generic because what I'm talking about is going to be different for each one of you. So let's back up a little bit and think about it this way. When you're going through grad school, besides getting your GPA and being a student. From a career perspective, you're trying to answer two questions. The first question is, what work do I want to do? So when you take a course in cataloging or in data analysis or in reference or in research or in whatever, part of what you're there to do is say, do I love this work? Do I find this fascinating and engaging? And consequently, I would like to learn more. I'd like to take a deeper dive. That's the part that's learning what work you want to do as an information professional. The other piece is learning for whom you want to do it. Do I want to work with a nonprofit? Do I want my information skills to go in the public library or to work in an academic library or in a special collection or in an archive or in a government agency or in a corporation? So what work do you want to do and for whom do you want to do it? But based on all of the insights we had this morning, there's another sort of adjunct or affiliated set of ideas running alongside with those two important career thought processes, which is, how do you manage multiple goals? Because all of you who are in grad school, as we've heard from everyone who's spoken, being in grad school is one of the toughest things you're going to have to do in your life. You are managing all sorts of expectations. You are managing agendas that everyone else has for you. Your teachers, the program itself, ALA in terms of accreditation or what they think you should graduate knowing, your family, possibly a significant other, certainly your kids. So you're trying to manage all of this learning work along with all of these other outside inputs. And talk about stressful. That can be stressful for you, but there are ways to deal with all of that. And I'm going to give you some pointers that I hope will be useful that helped me when I was going through grad school and have helped me in my career as I've dealt with working with startups, with working with founding a new special library, with running the MLIS program at DU on an interim basis. I've had lots and lots of different jobs while I was also a single parent, and while I was also doing something on the side in case, because I was a single parent and the only income, in case my primary job went away, I would have something else to fall back on. So if you learn these techniques and practice them in grad school, they will serve you well as you go into your career, working with those around you, taking on new opportunities, being able to say yes, as Shauntee mentioned. So I, with that, I'm going to go through them and then throw it open for questions. Here's how I would suggest you think about multiple goals. The first thing is to realize pretty much none of us can have it all. So the way to approach multiple responsibilities is instead to sequence them, which means that you are going to prioritize what is the most important thing today? What is the most important thing this week? That's going to change on a daily basis, and it's also going to be different for you depending on where you are in terms of life circumstances. For example, sandwich generation, you have multiple family responsibilities. I was a single parent. That was a huge responsibility for me because I wanted to create the most stable, predictable home life I could for my son, which meant I would come home from work and we would have together time, and then he would go to bed, and then I would start on my schoolwork. So you are sequencing, you are prioritizing. Also, as you're going through grad school, the likelihood is that you are going to have a class or hear a guest speaker or read an article and you think, whoa, I'd really like to track that down more. I'd like to understand more about that. So another thing that you want to do in terms of managing multiple inputs is set up a lifelong practice of being able to capture new ideas. The reason you want to be able to do this is in the information world, if you're looking around and you're meeting lots of people and connecting with lots of people, you are probably going to have roughly 50 cool ideas a year of something that you want to follow up on. Because you're in grad school, you can't follow up on those things right now. So the next best thing you can do is devise a system for, here's where I throw my new ideas in. It's a notebook, or it's a Google Doc, or it's something else. Some way of capturing new ideas, questions, career things you want to choose or pursue. You want to put them there so you know they're not lost, but you can let them go and stay focused on what it is you are trying to accomplish in grad school. Another really, really important thing for you to do while you're in grad school, and then again throughout the rest of your life, is to set expectations for others. As multiple panelists pointed out, we tend to be the go-to people for a child who needs this, an in-law who needs that, a friend who needs something else, a student who needs something. And one of the most valuable things you can do is to understand you want to be there for all of those people who rely on you. But while you are going through grad school, which is a very, very high intensity experience to juggle, you need to set your expectations with others of, for this period of time, I probably won't be able to do XYZ. It's not forever, but for this period of time, I'm going to need to stay focused on this. That may mean that the regular Friday lunches that we always love are going to have to be maybe once a month or be put on hold until I've got a class break. It may mean I can't go for a hike with you or go for a walk with you this evening because I've got to get this paper finished. Letting people know that you are going to be less available and that you need them to understand that and support you with that if they can is a way of clarifying what you can do and what you can't do, understanding that it is not forever. You are not abandoning people. You are simply being realistic about, I need to set these boundaries and I need to set these expectations so I don't disappoint you when you want me to do this and I can't. If you've already sort of laid out those expectations with all of those people around you, then it makes it easier to default back to that and say, remember I said this period or this amount of time, I'm going to need to be less available. I would also encourage you, and this is one of the toughest ones for people who go through a graduate library and information science program, is understanding and accepting that there are going to be many times in your life where good enough is good enough. So, for example, if you are in the middle of writing a paper for a course, that may mean that your house does not get cleaned for 2 months. Or it may mean that you default to protein bars for 2 weeks, knowing that there will be an end to this and you will go back to eating healthy, but that the normal standards that you would have for quote unquote excellence, which I tend to think is probably unhealthy. But those normal standards that you have, you need to be willing to let go of so that you are not trying to be both perfect and doing the things the way you know they should be done, and being that student who's trying to get the most out of your program, who's trying to learn, to contribute, to participate. You cannot do both. And so I would encourage you to say, I can't do both. Good enough for right now is good enough in these other areas of my life. Again, this won't be forever, but for right now, I need to be able to focus on what I prioritized. Understand also, as I'm encouraging you to be less perfect and less of a perfectionist, that what you are doing by going through grad school is amazing. You are doing something that on a percentage level, hardly anyone has the determination, the willingness to put in the effort, the investment in learning that you have committed to. And so through all this, everything that you're going through, I would encourage you to step back and say, whoa, I am actually pretty amazing. I am actually really amazing because I am stepping forth. I am stepping forward. I am leaning in to accomplish this goal that is a difficult goal, but I can handle it. If you can bring those sort of approaches to your time getting your graduate degree, the really cool thing is you get to practice all of that while you're in grad school. How does this work? How do I do that kind of a thing? Practicing all of that in grad school means that then when you launch your career, you take all of those skills with you into your career. And that is important because a lot of you are going to graduate. You're going to have all these really amazing and cool skills, and you're going to want to keep growing professionally. And so the only way to do that is to continue to step forward and take on something new and learn something new and contribute something new. Once again, you're juggling. And so knowing what that feels like, knowing how you handle it successfully means then you can do this with confidence. You can say yes. You can look at a new opportunity instead of saying, yeah, I'm not so sure I can handle that. You can look at it and say, I've been there before in a situation where I didn't know what I knew I needed to have to do something, but I learned it. And I did this and I did that. So while you're in grad school, part of your overall mental health is about figuring out how you best become that resilient learner, that supportive colleague, and then taking those into your career so you can share those skills and that knowledge with others around you who may not have been able to practice those things in graduate school. So that said, I also wanted to pick up on a couple of things that our speaker said. And I was taking notes, so excuse me if I read from my notes here. For those of you who have family members and young children who are very understandably disappointed when they're eating leftovers again for the fourth night in a row, or disappointed that you can't take them to do this, or that you've in some way let them down, understand that you are setting an example for those kids that is lifelong. You are modeling to them that you, yourself, my student, you can do difficult things. And because of that, you know that your children can do difficult things, and you can help them learn and understand how to do that. You are giving them, through that, an incredible level of confidence. And by the way, that was Shauntee, who I thought had amazing comments. Another comment that she had was, when you have any window of opportunity, go for it. So while you're in graduate school, you may have opportunities that you hadn't anticipated. My advice, and my bias, because this is how I have done my career, is when an opportunity presents itself, if at all possible, say yes, because it's an opportunity to learn. It is an opportunity to build your community of colleagues based on who you work with. And it is an opportunity to, what I would call, put yourself in the path of opportunity. You never know where any given ask, any given project is going to lead. But you'll never know unless you try it. And so I would encourage you to think again of Dr. Villagran's wonderful comment about, when one door closes, two windows open up. If while you've been in grad school, you have learned how to and mastered your own approaches to dealing with multiple commitments, multiple opportunities, it is easier to look at as an opportunity and say yes if you already have your tools built up and your processes and your systems for navigating those multiple opportunities. And all of our speakers talked about how they do that. For you, it might be different. You might have a different way of a different process of maintaining your resiliency as you go through. But the point from my perspective as someone who's career coaching you, as you go through the program, I would say practice, practice, practice. Every course you take is a new opportunity to figure out, how do I best learn? How do I approach a writing project? How do I navigate family obligations in a way that responds to and is authentic and clear with my family, but also sets the boundaries that I need to set in order to succeed? I think it was Michele that said no, or maybe Shauntee, who said no is a full sentence. The other word that I would give you, which is the one that I use when I need to, is bandwidth. Because all of us only have so much bandwidth in our lives to do whatever it is we've committed to do. And if you have committed most of your bandwidth and you've kept that little skinny piece over here, that Julia mentioned in terms of, this is how I do self-care, which you need to have, there's not a lot of bandwidth left. So when I'm in a situation where I've been asked to take on a new initiative, and I know it's something that I'd love to do, that I could do, but that there's currently no bandwidth in my life right now, I don't hesitate to say, whoa, cool project. You are going to have a blast with that. I would love to work on it, but I don't currently have the bandwidth for it. And so if I were to start working with you on that, it would mean that I would not honor the commitments that I have already made. I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. And if that were the case, I couldn't do honor to or do justice to this opportunity that you are asking me to join. So it's okay to disappoint people. It's hard. As women, we're hardwired into, oh my gosh, I can't disappoint anybody. I get that. Been there, done that, know exactly what that feels like. But if you take away nothing else from all of the amazing things that we have heard today, I would suggest that you understand that you get to come first. And it's okay if you disappoint people, because you have made a commitment to yourself that is going to be an amazing long-term investment in your career. And that amazing long-term investment is going to benefit everyone else around you. So with that, I will open it up to questions and hope that that was a helpful bringing together of what we've learned so far.
Thank you so much, Kim, for your amazing content and all this wisdom and tips and recommendations for our participants. I was in library school a while ago, but I do remember, listening to you, it's just all these memories are coming back. How we are looking for tips. How did you make it? How did others made it? Mm-hmm. And it's just really, really useful. And I hope that people can also, recommend it to their colleagues or their classmates. There was a webinar and there are some resources. Kim spoke, Taryn spoke, because these are important information that can actually support us when we are going through the valley of the research.
Yes, well said.
Homework, you said something that we all go through and no one speaks about. If you are working on a project, sometimes the house maybe can fall apart a little bit, and that you'll pick it up later, but you are focused on the goal, and it happens because we have only 2 eyes, 1 mind, and so we don't speak about those things. But it's kind of like comforting to hear that everybody goes through that. If you need to order food, you order food for whatever time you need to, because you have a goal, and of course we schedule everything, and we are, we're walking a path directed. And so then we know that everything will come back to whatever it was our normal. So thank you for that, among other things. Questions for Kim. We have some time. And as I said for our, prior speaker, this is the time. If you can't get an appointment or seek him a certain time, this is the time we have to talk to her.
And yes. Also, by the way, anyone is welcome to reach out to me via email.
Okay, fantastic. I wonder, you mentioned, you touched into a question that I had here, right, about women that often face societal pressures to do it all perfectly, right? And students are women, and we are dealing with many things, juggling many areas. So would you have any other wisdom, advice in terms of, when women that are studying, researching, and have different roles, maybe they feel overwhelmed by the expectations, right? Because, we want to be perfect, we want to do everything, and deadlines have to be met. And so, yes, so there is that, right? The deadlines, the studies, research, and then maybe there are some that have careers, of course, along with their education, family, self-care. There are so many areas. Would you have other, perhaps, advice from your vast experience, you being in different settings?
First of all, I would say, and I think you touched on it. You mentioned societal expectations. When your kiddos go to school sort of looking like maybe their hair isn't perfect, it's never the men or the dads that feel, oh my gosh, my child looks like a homeless person. It's the moms. And we are, I don't, it may be the hormones that Taryn was mentioning, or our programming, but I think the hardest thing for me was letting go of the expectation that I should be good at everything. I should be a perfect mother. I should be an excellent employee. I should be an excellent leader, volunteer, all of these kinds of things. I would recommend everyone read the books by Brené Brown, and that's Brene, and then Brown, Brown, because she is someone who has gone through that process of trying to be the perfect everything and written books about why that is harmful to you. It holds you back, and it keeps you from doing all the really cool things that you could do and making those contributions. And I'll give a shout out here to Michele Villagran, who I have known for many, many years, and watched Michele take her career from one place to another, to another, to another, to another. Constant, not just growth and learning through her degrees, but also contribution, where she has continually grown her contributions in ways that are valuable and important and meaningful. And besides just being sort of in awe of watching her, every time I saw a mention of Michele, she was doing something new. It was with the strong feeling that Michele, and I'm speaking for you, Michele, and I apologize for that, but my guess would be that for Michele, it was more important that she learn what she wanted to learn in order to be in a position to make the kind of contribution she wanted to make than what other people wanted her to be doing for them. And because of that, we have all benefited from Michele's contribution. So I would say, again, it gets back to that: don't feel responsible for everything. Don't feel like you have to excel at everything. Decide what's important to you in this moment, at this point in time, and focus on that, and let other things go by the wayside. I mean, I would love to interior design my office, but I'm in the middle of writing a book. So my office looks like it does, so that I can focus instead on writing a book. So I think that what I would say is essentially prioritize, but realize that your individual priorities have as much weight and importance as anyone else in your life. You deserve it.
Thank you so much. You actually touched on recommending books, and I have Atlas of the Heart from Brené Brown. It's wonderful. It's like a Bible. But I wanted to also recommend, when we are now at the end of this really special program, I wanted to recommend and leave attendees with a recommendation of a book that was written by Mel Robbins many years ago. Many years ago. And after this book, she had written other books that explore the same theme, and is the Let Them theory.
Right. I was going to mention it, but I couldn't remember her name.
I am so glad that you mentioned Brené, because I have her books, but the book that I wanted to highlight at the end was this one. So, yeah, we are in the same, we're in sync, right? And this is a book for many things, but essentially at the core is that it's something that Tari mentioned and Kim mentioned, and some of our colleagues in the keynote panel mentioned, we can't worry about everything or everybody. There are times that we will have to let things be, or if they are not, of course, harming us, we need to really stay focused on our goals. And we have to let some things be. Maybe down the road we can tackle them. It doesn't, I'm not saying no one is going to run over you. No one is going to take advantage of you. That's not it. There are things that we cannot worry about all the time about everything. Otherwise, our mental health and our goals, our career, our, achievements that, will be affected. And so that book for a long time is being a source of inspiration. And if you want to look it up, there are different books based on that from the same author. So you're welcome to do that. And I wonder if Dr. Shao is still with us and would like to have any closing words. But before we go to him, I would like to invite everyone that joined us today to share with your colleagues and with your library friends the news about this event. And the recording will be ready, and it will be shared through the school channels, and so that others can benefit. I thought that the keynote panel was spectacular in terms of what was shared, candid, and also really good content and very helpful. And Taryn and Keen had incredible resources and wisdom as well. So I feel like we have honored women today and every day, of course, but during this program, and is being a source of inspiration. And I would like all of you that are still with us and that will come back to the recording to share that with others. Dr. Shao?
Thank you, Loida. Loida and I recently talked about health and wellness. I think Kim was talking about the power of saying no as well. In the last hour and a half, I was just on the steering committee of JCLC, and then a meeting with CLA because our executive director is retiring. So obviously taking care of yourself is certainly one of the priorities as your careers continue to evolve. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for your time, your expertise. So please, let's give them a loud Zoom round of applause for Loida and all of the panelists for taking the time and sharing their wisdom. So thank you so much. I also want to thank our dedicated staff and students who, of course, are outstanding and who, without all of your help, this today would not be possible. That includes Nicole Purviance, Vivian Zuo, Alfredo Alcantar, Matsuko Friedland, Nicola Azov, and we have also Heather and Claire with us as well. So thank you for all of your time and support. Everything is recorded. A full transcript and a summary of today's proceedings will be available online within a couple of weeks. Let me share with you the link here. So please go there. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'll include that here. Because our lineup for the next couple of months will be Deaf Culture and Community, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, Pride Month, and Juneteenth celebration. I'm probably forgetting a few more as well. So again, thank you so much for being part of our Culture and Community Symposium series. Loida, again, thank you for all of your leadership and what you do for the field and what you represent. Do you have any final thoughts, Loida, before we go?
Well, let's continue because this program was for women and, dedicated to inspire us. Let's continue supporting each other. And that's the best way that we can honor our ancestors, right? Supporting each other, inspiring each other, and helping us to move through the world that every time gets more challenging. But we have each other, and that is the important piece to always remember.
Great. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us. Have a wonderful day.